Hello and welcome to this YouTube tutorial about how to draw a circle at a certain position on the screen. So if I run my program right now, you'll see I have already written some code that allows for displaying a grid here. If you'd like to see how to make this grid, you can look at some of my previous YouTube videos, and the code to make this grid is literally right here. So by watching this video, you may learn very quickly how to make this grid. So anyways, let's get into the process of making a circle. And I'm just going to start that process by making a circle class. I have suppressed the code for the other classes, since we don't need to look at that right at the moment. So let's make a class called circle. Eventually, I'm going to put these classes in separate files, but for now, it's fine in one file. Okay, so we have a class called circle, and we need to, well, we don't necessarily need to, but it's very good programming practice to have an initializer. I'm just going to quickly open up this game class, and this is an example of an initializer. If you've coded in Python before, I'm sure you've seen this. I, for some reason, need to look at the syntax every time, so I am doing that. And now we have our initializer. I'm just going to say pass for the time being. Now, the next thing I like to do when I make a new class is to think about what is kind of inherent to the circle. Well, a circle has a radius, and at first I set it to none. I might end up changing my coding habits later, but I like to just to know what's going on. I like to set these to none. And in other programming languages, none is kind of similar to nil. If you're familiar with Swift coding languages, the Swift coding language. So, okay, so a circle has a radius. It also has a position. I could specify the coordinate, or I could specify the point, which consists of two coordinates. Either one's fine. I think I'm just going to break it into X position and Y position, just because I like to break things down into pieces. So this is also going to be none, and this is going to be none. All right, and I would assume that the person using this class would want to, which is me, by the way, would want to specify where to draw the circle. So I'm going to put in some parameters. Radius, they can be the same name as the attributes or properties here. Y position. And I'm going to take away the pass now and set the properties, which are accessed with this self keyword. So self.radius equals radius, where radius is this one, and self.x position equals x position, and self.y position equals y position. I'm going to press save. So now we have the basic structure for a circle class. The next step is plotting it on the screen or drawing it. I'm using pygame because it can allow for this user interface to pop up. And so I like pygame so far in Python. It's been kind of nice to use, so I would recommend it. Anyways, we need to figure out how to draw a circle. And I'm just going to open up this class called rectangle because I was able to draw a rectangle, and it involved updating the display and calling a draw function of the pygame module, as well as defining a rectangle according to the pygame module. So you define it, you draw it, and then you update the display. I'm assuming that drawing a circle, or I know that drawing a circle is going to follow these exact same steps. So what I could do is I could copy and paste, or I can just start writing the function. So I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to call it draw. I could just call it draw, but I am in, because, if you're already in the circle class, you have an instance called circle and you say circle.draw, then one knows that a circle is being drawn, but it's possible that I will end up implementing other methods in this class that involve drawing. So I'm just going to call it draw circle and call it a day. I'm going to need a self keyword here because it's a method, not a function. We're using classes here, so we need that self keyword. And now let's start getting into the instantiation of a pygame circle. So what is the first step? Well, I'm just going to do everything exactly analogous to the rectangle case. So I'm going to say circle equals pygame.circle. And we need two sets of parentheses. We're going to do the center, the radius. So probably self.x, self.y, self.radius. I imagine this is what the circle function is. I'm going to double check to make sure I'm entering these parameters correctly. On second thought, I'm just going to go with what I have written and adjust the parameters if, well, adjust the parameters and see what that adjustment does, just to verify that this configuration does what I think it's doing. All right, pygame.draw. Now circle instead of rectangle. Yeah, it's draw.circle. And then screen is not a global variable, but I have a game global variable with a property called screen that I've set in a previous video and a previous class. You can see it here if you'd like. Just flash to that code. And so we have the screen, and now we need to define the color. We have not defined a color yet, as done for the rectangle class. So circle can't have a color, so I like the idea of making that a property and passing it in as well to the initializer and setting the property equal to color. So when we call this function, we will specify the color, and now we can access it by saying self.color. And the final argument for drawing the circle is the, actually we need two more, sorry. No, just one more, circle. We have the X and Y position and the radius. I think that's it. I'm wondering if this needs to be in parentheses because it's a coordinate. So if this doesn't work as intended, I will fiddle with this line here. And of course, I still need to update the display, pygame.display.update. Okay, so in our draw shapes function, instead of just drawing a grid, what I'm going to do is define an object called circle circle equals uppercase C, IRC. I know how to spell circle. Okay. And then I'm going to call circle dot draw circle. There it is. It's showing up. It's a good sign. And I don't need to pass any arguments. But when I instantiate circle, I'm going to need to pass in all of these arguments, or else the compiler is going to yell at me. So what do we want the radius to be? Maybe 5. I think that's going to be large enough to see. What do we want the x position to be? For starters, just maybe 10 and 10 for the x and y, and then the color can be one of the preloaded colors in this pygame class, and I can just start off with, say, blue. I believe that should be a color. I've actually never used blue, I've only used red, but well, we'll see if that gives us an error. Being a little bold right now with my experimentation of coding, if you will. So now we are calling draw shapes in our run, and we're calling run. So this all should work out just fine. I'm going to exit out of here so that I can actually run the program. We are getting an error. Okay, so actually this circle thing doesn't exist, which explains why I couldn't find documentation about it. So unfortunately, the creation of a circle is not completely analogous to the creation of a rectangle, unless, now this is a wild guess. It is very possible that I just need to put the x and y in their own parentheses. So I'm going to try that, and I'll try one more thing if that doesn't work. So am I getting an error? Okay, so it doesn't like that. And then the last thing I want to try is removing that extra parenthesis set. See if it's, yeah, okay, so this is not, I can't get this to work. If anyone knows how to get that to work, let me know, but don't spend a lot of time on it because it might just not exist. End of story. Okay, so instead of putting the circle there, we will go ahead and define it as most people do, with the screen first, and then comma, we need a color, which we've already done, and then we need a tuple. I believe this is called a tuple in Python. X and a Y, which we should definitely specify with that self, or yeah, we definitely need that self keyword there. Otherwise, there will be ambiguity and possibly even an error. And then we need self dot radius. So this should work better. Let's see if we get a blue circle somewhere on the screen. Circle object has no attribute X. Oh, that's of course, because I called it X position and Y position. Whoops. Okay, I think I need to fix my IDE. Okay, so I just loaded the grid over on the left, and I'm seeing a little circle over here. Honestly, it doesn't really look like a circle because it looks like a diamond, honestly, which is kind of interesting. I'm gonna increase the radius so that we can examine if that is really something that if I'm really noticing some lack of roundness in this circle. So I want to make the radius say 50 instead of 5. Maybe it just has trouble drawing like really tiny things, or maybe like this circle really isn't a circle. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. Okay, this looks more like a circle, and you can see that the circle is going off the screen. So it's as if the center of the circle is at 1010, which does make sense. Why would any other part of the circle mark the position of the circle? So the fact that the radius is 50 makes sense. If I were to change these to 50 and 50, we'll be able to see the entire circle just barely because of the fact that it's touching the edges. So yeah, that's our circle. That's pretty good for a circle, I think. This interestingly is blinking because the screen is continuously loading with this while loop. So you can see that blinking, or at least I can. I don't know if it's going to show up on the video that I upload. So yeah, we have drawn a circle. The next step for me is going to be moving the circle onto one of the corners. So I'm going to make a separate video. If you are enjoying learning about pygame, definitely give this channel a subscribe, or press the subscribe button. And thank you for watching. See you in the next one.